Well, again, here's what our new normal would look like. Number one, supporting only those who fight to save America. So before you give a dime to a conservative group or a think tank or a candidate or a campaign, ask yourself, where were they when we needed them? If the answer is they sat on the sidelines or spent their time criticizing the president and helping Biden, they should have no future in Republican politics. Number two, preserving our history, our Declaration, and Constitution. We will proudly protect our national holidays and our monuments and some of the names of our states and cities. We'll get to that in a moment. And we're going to embark on an effort to educate America on the greatness of our founders and key historical events in progress. Contributions of Americans from all races and creeds will be celebrated and appreciated. Number three, no more lockdowns. Viruses are a fact of life. And it's very sad. And sometimes, as with COVID-19, there will be awful, tragic results. We need to keep the most vulnerable safe. We need to try to find treatments. But trampling on our basic rights and wrecking businesses, ruining livelihoods, and bankrupting our country is simply no longer an option. Even Fauci had to admit a vaccine may never come. Number four, kids need to stay in school. Teachers are essential workers. They're just like firefighters and policemen that way. They need to be on the job. A new German study out today confirms what we knew from Iceland's experience. There's no evidence that kids spread COVID in school. Yet the anti-science crowd, claiming to be the science crowd from California to Montgomery County, Maryland, have announced that they're going to hold no in-person education for kids, if you can believe that. The idiotic modified schedules of New York and places like Virginia are a total nightmare as well. This will be catastrophic for parents and kids. Start making noise on that. Number five, no to endless edicts. Yes to actual laws. Now, governors like Andy Beshear of Kentucky, they've been slapped down by state courts for overstepping their authority during the pandemic. So this has been my point. If masks and social distancing are really the only answer we have right now, then why didn't Biden get out of the basement and push Nancy Pelosi to come back into session and pass a law requiring both? Well, I'll tell you why. They love unaccountable power, and they're not sure they'd win in court if challenged. Number six, hands off our places of worship. We reject that many despots and state governments have the right under the U.S. Constitution to stop us from going to practice our faith in our religious communities. Freedom of worship is essential to millions of Americans. Now, if Catholic bishops spend as much effort defending their parishes as they've spent defending illegal immigrants, we may have already won on this issue. Number seven, no coddling of criminals. New York and Chicago have seen a heinous rise in murders and robberies since the defund the police effort began. It's a policy the leftists demand as our new normal. But AOC wasn't A-OK trying to explain the recent violent crime surge.
Maybe this has to do with the fact that people aren't paying their rent and are scared to pay their rent. They're put in a position where they feel like they either need to shoplift some bread or go hungry that night.
I must have missed all the bread thefts that were happening. Looters and other thugs who destroy the civil rights of others should be prosecuted, not released back onto the streets. Same should apply to police if they commit crimes. Number eight, new industrial policy. It's called Made in the USA. Now, Biden's going to claim he agrees with this, but come on, we destroyed that last week. 40 years in Washington of Biden's tells us that whole thing was a lie. Our economic policy should make it easier to do business here. All essential medicine supply chains need to be brought back home, period. Number nine, call out companies that continue to prop up China while railing against America. The NBA and the sports media are a case study in this very type of hypocrisy. Now, it's worth remembering that the Chinese Communist Party brutalizes Muslims and other minorities as a matter of state policy. Of course, left-wing ESPN and other sports media that have fallen all over themselves to support the political movement of BLM, But the brutality of China, they utterly ignore. Now, LeBron James's deal with Nike is reportedly worth $1 billion. Well, Nike raked in $6 billion from China last year. No wonder LeBron was incensed by Daryl Morey's Hong Kong tweet last fall. The king of Beijing. That has a nice ring to it. Number 10, cancel the cancel culture. When they seek to destroy people or companies just because they disagree on politics, we'll answer them with lawsuits and boycotts. That's a bad pun, but stay with me. The Goya Foods CEO, targeted by the left, is being supported by millions nationwide and is unbowed.
There are those who are born to love and to build, and others to hate and destroy. And unfortunately, there's a movement of hatred and destruction.
You're not going to apologize for standing next to President Trump.
Hell no.
Love him. And finally, number 11, defund colleges and universities. It's time to stop sending our tax dollars to professors and administrators who teach students to hate America. You know what I would do if I were in Congress? I'd hold hearings, and I'd start asking these college presidents that take federal money, how many conservatives do you have on your faculty? What's the ratio of conservative to liberal commencement speakers? Do any of your faculty members hate the country? Do you have any evidence that they do? You ever considering hiring Americans who don't hate the country? A populist conservatism was precisely the type of new normal that Trump ran on in 2016. He's made great progress in all the items that Hannity and I were talking about earlier. But the GOP establishment, we have to remember this, they've never been comfortable with his policies, and some are anxious to get back to the good old days of, perpetual internationalism and interventionism. But that's not going to happen. While others would have you locked down indefinitely, Trump has been fighting for your right to work, your kids' right to learn, and your right to pursue your own happiness. He trusts you to manage your own risks, as we all do every day. And if he's gone next year, Democrats, led by hapless Joe, they're going to run roughshod over everything you and I have worked for. That's the only new normal we're going to permit. And anyone looking closely at Biden knows the only new thing he's capable of is the old misery.